Hello, folks. Welcome to Scratch the Surface. My name's EJ Scott. Today, my guests are Craig Cackowski and Carla Cackowski. They are the hosts and founders of Craigslist podcast on iTunes and the podcast app. You can find it. It's a great podcast. Craig, and he'll talk about it himself, but he's a list maker, and he's made a list of his top 100 movies of all time. And they go through from 100 to 1. Every week they go through a movie and kind of evaluate it and review it and dissect it. And it's a lot of fun. They have guests and bits that they do. It's a lot of fun. They're very good people. And they come on here, and we talk a lot about movies, obviously. And we also talk about Donald Trump. Carla went to the march, the Women's March, and we talk about Craig. A couple of credits, acting credits of Craig's. He was in VEEP, and he does Drunk History on Comedy Central. We talk about that. I was curious about it. Craig was also a teacher of mine, improv teacher. So we talk about improv and comedy. They're both from spend a lot of time in Chicago. We talk about Chicago. All sorts of stuff. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of good laughs in this podcast. Before we get started, let me just do a quick plug for myself. Twitter, at EJ Scott, at EJ Podcast is the podcast Twitter, and EJScott.com is my website. I'm raising money for charity. Crowdrise.com/7on7, the number 7 on the number 7. There's about a dozen or so charities there that I picked out that are very important to me, and probably at least one of them is important to you. So go check that out and see if you could give a little bit to one of them or more. And I'm trying to raise $500,000. I don't know how long that'll take. It's already taking a long time, but if you could donate, that'd be great. Thank you very much, and tell your friends. I am going blind from an eye disease called choroideremia, and it's genetic, and it runs in my family. My grandfather was blind, and my brother has it, and my nephews have it. I'm legally blind now, and in 2012, I ran 12 marathons in 12 states in 12 months, blindfolded, and was lucky enough to get a documentary made about it called Running Blind, and it was directed by Ryan Suffern. And you can find it on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon. And for $2 or $3, you can rent it or buy it. And it's a 30-minute documentary. And I think if you have the time and the money, it's well worth both. So go check that out if you can. So without any further ado, enjoy my talk with Carla and Craig Cackowski. Hi, Cackowskis.
Hi,
Hi, EJ.
How's it going?
Good.
Pretty good.
The hosts of Craigslist podcast.
Wow, what a get. How did you ever get the hosts of Craigslist?
Well, we had to reschedule. It's harder than you might think.
Yeah,
we had to
that's
reschedule.
That was my fault. I got so sick last week.
Sick of Trump?
Yes, I think that has a lot to do with it. It's taking its physical toll.
Trumpitis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, I don't think that's altogether inaccurate. I feel like I have lost sleep since he's been elected.
Yeah.
And I feel lots of anxiety myself and all that type of stuff. And I'm sure, I mean, you just looking online, you know other people are freaking out too.
Absolutely.
Whether they're for him or against him, there's a lot of panic and anxiety.
Yes, a lot of stress and anxiety in our lives, which is absolutely going to make us sicker and impinge on our sleep. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if doctors and ERs will notice an uptick. But then there's the other thing of like we don't have insurance anymore, so I guess it'll all even itself out.
Yeah. We'll just be dropping like flies.
Yeah.
This is how the world balances itself. We're getting too overpopulated anyway.
Oh, dear God.
Right?
Well, let's try to cover that extensively on today's podcast.
Oh, man.
Well, when will the Trump movie make it to Craig's Top 100?
Never. Well, Never say never. Who knows? There might be a great Trump movie
Maybe
out there.
a David Fincher, David Fincher movie. Maybe he'll do a cool.
Sure.
He'd be the guy to do it, right?
Oliver Stone.
Of course.
Already did Wall Street.
We didn't
He
like
did
W,
too.
though. Yeah.
He did W.
Remember
too.
that wasn't very good, though,
W
right?
was not very
It was
good.
not
Yeah.
very good.
You can't even Alec Baldwin is doing a great job as Trump of you can't be more cartoonish than the original. So
Yeah.
there's no way that any performance can do that moron
Have
justice.
we alienated any listeners yet?
I hope so.
Did we get rid of you?
Well, last night I did a women's march podcast.
Awesome.
I had a few women over and talked about it, so I'm sure I alienated enough just with that one alone. You guys went? Did you guys go to the march?
I did.
Carla did.
What
I
did I
don't
think?
like crowds, noise, or the possibility of danger.
And most women.
Hate women. Yeah,
It was
that's a
the
big
most
factor.
peaceful, nonviolent protest you could have ever attempted.
Simply because I wasn't there.
How was it? How was it for you, Carla?
It was good. It was intense for me. I went early, and so what actually ended up happening was we were right in the thick of it right before, because they pushed the march back like 20 or 30 minutes because of all the people who had shown up. So we were like in the front, and as people were coming in, we were being pushed closer. And so what ended up happening was that we were like in this bottleneck of people. And so I kind of had a panic attack at one point.
Right.
Yeah. Besides that, it was awesome and totally worth it. Yeah. One panic attack is worth freedom of speech and our rights.
Who'd you go with?
I went with a friend, Carol Lee.
Okay. So you weren't there alone. That's good.
Yeah, I wasn't there alone. And then she brought her roommate, who's a very tall woman, and I'm very short. And so her roommate, Keiko, did not have any problems, she said, because she was able to see above everyone.
Okay.
That's the trick.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring a tall friend.
There you go. She was keeping us calm as we were like looking at the back of people, you know.
Did you have any signs?
I didn't. I did bring my pussy hat.
All right, there you. Did you make it?
I did. I made it.
Whoa.
I'm a knitter, so this was like a great craft for me.
And you made pussy hats for my mom and sister too.
Yeah, and we sent them to DC with Craig's sister.
Yeah, my mom lives in the DC suburbs, so she and my sister did the march there, and my other sister did the march in Chicago. So I was very inspired by all the women in my life participating in this.
Yeah, well, I didn't have, not all the women in my life participated, but Deborah did.
I saw
Her
that.
mom.
She went to DC, right?
DC, 'cause she's in
Awesome.
New York right now.
Okay.
And one or two of her aunts and her brother's girlfriend. So they all
Wow.
went to DC.
And how was it for her?
She's not a crowd person either.
Yeah.
So she made it. She
Yeah.
made it through, and I was very proud of her for doing that, because I know she was like nervous about it for like a week.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, that's not her cup of tea usually. But she wore her hat.
That's awesome. She did it. She showed up.
She did it. She showed up. She did really great.
Good.
That's
Yeah.
good.
And now everything's okay.
Right. Oh, wait. There's another march coming up. Oh, two, I think.
There's a
We have-
couple. One for taxes.
Yep.
And science.
And science. That's right.
The March for Science. It's insane that we have to do that. But
It exists.
yeah.
Science is real. Science is real. They teach it in schools.
As more and more components of basic civilization are taken away from us, there will have to be marches to counteract that. So
Yeah.
Are you guys able to keep up? I can't keep up with.
it's
all
been
this stuff.
it's been a week. First of all, we're a week into the Trump administration.
A week
It's a
today.
week
Yeah.
today, and I tweeted this morning. Has it really only been a week? I feel like I've aged 5 years.
You might have.
I might have. Yeah, I look for the listeners. I look terrible right now.
Trump has aged at least 20 years, I'd say, the last week. He's a mess.
That is a real thing for all presidents, right?
If you look at
Yeah.
Obama's pictures, I mean, it was 8 years, but
Sure.
nonetheless, he looks about 20 years older.
Yeah, they can't possibly get a normal amount of sleep.
No.
You know, the stress level
stress
has to be
levels.
high. Yeah.
Yep.
Enormous. Well, now Trump, I just heard that Trump raised his, I heard this today, doubled his membership dues at Mar-a-Lago
Yeah.
from 100,000 to 200,000. So he's doing okay.
Yeah.
It's
As
all
long
about
as
the
he's making
Trump
some
brand.
money.
Yeah. It's
Then
just
I
a
guess-
branding opportunity to him. There's no way he's going to have the patience to sit this out for 4 years. Like something will happen on either end to end it.
I just read something else. Like he had a whole itinerary of plans, and I guess he was stressed out and was just got rid of canceled everything.
Too much on my schedule.
I need a vacation already.
And he did an interview, like walking through the Oval Office with Sean Hannity, where he apparently was like, "Look at that desk. Look at all the papers on it. You don't see presidents with papers on their desk." And I saw somebody tweeted, "Trump is proud of having paper on his desk." And it's just like that press conference where it's like, boom, boom, boom. Look at all these folders with paper. For some reason, like he has some like 10-year-old's idea of what an important man's desk looks like.
And that photo that he took where he was signing something, but it's clearly just a legal pad. And and he has it folded up so you can't see it's blank.
Yeah.
You know, don't look.
I think that was where he was supposedly working on his speech, right?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Working on the speech. It's going to be tremendous.
Whoa, you can do Trump. That's the first time I've heard you do that.
You're a very good improviser and impressionist.
I'm not a professional impressionist, but I can dabble.
You do a Morgan Freeman kind of frequently on your podcast.
I have been known to do the voice of Morgan Freeman.
That's my favorite.
What other ones do you do? Can you do
Who else have I done? I can do Harrison Ford, but only if I'm directly quoting Star Wars or Air Force One.
Get off of my plane. Laugh it up, fuzzball.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Did you ever audition for SNL?
Oh, so many times, EJ. No, never made it to New York. A couple times where they saw me in a show. Okay. So in a sense, I was auditioning.
Okay, like Second City Main Stage, something like that.
Yeah. Well, Second City ETC, they hired Horatio Sands from a show that I was in. So I remember when they came and scouted Horatio, and then he left a couple weeks later for New York. So and then a few times at the IO Improv Olympic in Chicago, where it would be like just a big clusterfuck because it's like SNL is coming, and you wouldn't get to play with your normal group. You'd play with whoever Sharna had promised that they could play that weekend, and it would be like these all-star groups of people you don't normally play with, and so everybody would be stepping all over each other to steamroll the scene, and so you had no chance of doing any sort of coherent scenes. And then there was one year where I put together a tape for SNL on my manager's request and sent that in. And I don't think I did any impressions for that. I think I just did like 4 characters, and it was really embarrassing. But the traditional audition is 3 original characters and 3 impressions.
Yeah.
That's, I believe to this day, that's still what they do.
And they've changed, at least at IO, they don't do that improvised stuff anymore. They have like you do 5 minutes of whatever you want.
You do individual showcases, which is exactly, it's smart because it's exactly what you'd be doing when you go to 30 Rock to do your audition. Yeah.
That seems logical.
Yeah.
Right? It seems a lot more logical than the clusterfuck that you were just referring to.
I feel like if I was ever on SNL, I could do a decent job, but I could never get through the audition process to get on SNL.
Yeah,
So it's grueling, and it takes a particular personality type to be able to pull it off, I think.
Or there's the people who like they've gone and done it like 4 times. They've been called to New York like 4. It's just like so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I just had Chris Wataski on. He talked about it. He went a few times and auditioned.
Wow, yeah.
Paul Britton was just here, and he talked about his audition and being there and getting laid off and not being invited back or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's a stressful thing, but if you could do it, good on you.
Yeah.
And if you get that far, even if you're ultimately let go, you still will have a career.
Yeah. Jim Carrey auditioned.
Did he?
Yeah, Jim Carrey auditioned.
He's done okay for himself.
Not bad. Lisa Kudrow, I think Jennifer Aniston even auditioned.
I believe they did, yeah. What I've heard from people that have, even if you're flown to New York for the final like callbacks, you know, I think that maybe they like call back 15 people for 3 slots usually or something like that. Even those people start getting poached by agents and managers before the results of the auditions are even in. Like I remember my sister auditioned and like got calls from like top level managers like the next day just because somehow the SNL like leaks the names to these people,
it's
you know.
impressive.
So you're already in some pool of elite comedy talent just knowing that you have that opportunity even if you don't get hired.
That is so cool. Oh, I would love to be on SNL. Love it.
Yeah.
So your sister auditioned.
She did. She was a writer on the show for a few years. Yeah. And she met her husband on the show, who was Akiva, who did the video shorts for years.
He's a Lonely Island guy.
Of the Lonely Island, yeah.
So how she must have liked it there if she met her husband, right? That worked out pretty.
That
well.
worked out, yeah. It was true comedy romance, yeah.
She now writes and produces Last Man on Earth.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah, it's such a good show. Yeah,
it's so good.
It's a great writing staff on that show. Yeah, she met Will Forte, and they became good friends, and so he thought of her for that show, and she works with her friend Emily Spivey on that show, who's another great SNL writer. So yeah, definitely for her, it's been great for networking over the years. Of like those relationships are really strong, you know,
and for baby making.
For baby making, yes, they've made 2 babies.
Oh.
Yeah. 2 hilarious babies.
What about you guys? You haven't made any babies?
No, we have some
Not
dogs.
that I remember.
We have a couple dogs and a cat.
Carla's given birth to 2 dogs and a cat.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. That's a lot of hard work.
What kind of dogs you got?
Good question. One is a mutt, Chow Maltese mix, if you can imagine.
I can't, but go ahead.
Yeah, so very fluffy, but really temperamental.
Fluffy with a bad attitude.
That's Benny. And then we have a little Chihuahua, a 10-year-old Chihuahua we just adopted named Frankie.
She's been with us for about a month.
She's not
really?
Yippee, which is what everybody says when I say Chihuahua. She's
Yeah.
not at all, which is great.
When she does bark, it's like really, it's kind of like guttural. It's like, raw. You know?
She's like 6 pounds.
Yeah, she can't scare anyone, but she puts up a good fight.
She's like a senior dog.
Yeah.
She's a senior, yeah.
Yeah, we got her. We work with this foundation called Frosted Faces Foundation, which is a rescue group out of San Diego, and they pull senior dogs from the shelter system and find homes for them. It's a really nice thing.
We've fostered for them before.
Yeah.
And Frankie's getting along great with Benny, and she feels like a part of the household. She's only been with us for a few weeks, and it's been great.
And then we have a fat, lazy cat named Bronco.
Yep.
How old's the cat?
I think 15, maybe.
They last a long time.
Yeah, they do. I'm ready.
Yeah, they do. I'm ready.
After having, we had 3 cats at one time, and 2 have since passed away. But after having dogs, I just realized how much better it is.
We're slowly transitioning from being cat people to dog people.
Dogs are the best.
They really are.
Dogs are the
They're
best.
so much better.
When it's time for Bronco to go, we'll probably replace him with a 3rd dog, right?
No, I think we're good with 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Another senior. You know, there's no commitment, not a big commitment with senior dogs.
Right.
So if you don't like them that much,
That's what the thinking was on my end. Like, yeah, she'll just be around for a few years.
Yeah.
You're going to get all kinds of hate mail.
I will direct that. I will forward it to you.
Great,
I will
can't
forward
wait.
it.
Just
Can't
waiting for the Grim Reaper to intervene.
So you guys are both improvisers and performers. I've known Craig. I've known you since 2003.
Wow.
Wow. We're celebrating 14 years of friendship.
14
That's longer
years
than
this
me.
summer. And Carla, when did you get on the scene?
Yeah. I must have met you in like 2000. Craig and I started dating in 2006. So I must have met you
Around
then. Yeah.
Yeah, Craig and I dated in 2003.
That was a tumultuous time,
And
yeah.
then he left me to go to you.
Those were the early Bush years.
The band Bush with Gavin Rossdale?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure, yeah. We listened to a lot of Bush back then.
We were in the Iraq War. Remember those protests?
Yeah.
Well, did you read Pasquazi's tweet about this was the biggest march or protest in history? Trump is hated more than war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People hate Trump more than war.
Twitter is great for Dave Pasquazi because he's a man of few words. He chooses his words wisely. Yeah.
Exactly. I interviewed him. He did 140 character responses, so it was perfect.
Wow.
So you guys met, I assume, as teacher-student?
Yeah. We don't like to talk about that, but
It's frowned upon in the improv community.
Sounds creepier than it is. But yeah, that's where we first met.
So the real
Well, it's not
story.
like you're like 15 or
Right.
anything.
Well, the real story, I've gotten a little more sensitive about it over the past couple years as, you know, all of these
I'm not judging, by the way. I would totally date my student.
No. I know you're not, but if you're in the improv community, you understand that there's a lot of question about, flirtation between teacher and student now and inappropriate behavior, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's what I mean. So I feel like I need to tell the story very quickly, which is that I knew who he was when I lived in Chicago because I was studying at Second City and he was on the main stage. And then when I moved to LA, he was my teacher, but we were both in different relationships.
That's right.
You stalked him.
So I stalked him. And then 2 years after I was in his class, or maybe even 2.5 years, we started dating after that.
Both of those relationships ended around the same time, and Carla and I kept running into each other.
Yeah.
And been running into each other ever since.
Gross.
Was there, you guys were with other people, but was there ever thought of he or she is so nice that maybe if I wasn't with this person, I would. Do you ever think like that?
I don't know. I liked him as a friend.
I thought of her as a student.
As a student, purely. For 3 years.
Got very serious.
A really cute student.
That you'd like to have sex with.
Sex? Who's talking about sex?
Oh, we should get around to that. Especially if we want to have some of those babies we've been hearing about.
There you go. So you're both from Chicago, born, raised?
No, I'm not.
Me either.
We're not.
I just
from
lived
Chicago.
there for a little bit. I'm born and raised in Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky.
Born and raised in Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
Yeah.
Carry me back to old Virginia, which I believe is no longer the state song because it's a horribly racist song.
Okay.
Carry me back to old
maybe
Virginia.
They'll bring it back for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there's a motion to get that started again. I grew up outside of D.C. Lived there. I went to William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. So I lived in Virginia until I was 22. Then I moved to Chicago. But you're not the only person who assumes I'm from Chicago just because Cackowski kind of sounds like a good Polish Chicago name. And anybody who knows me and my sisters, we all lived in Chicago at the same time.
Okay.
My sister Allison came out to go to law school at DePaul. My sister Liz came out to go to school at Northwestern. And then she ended up kind of following in my footsteps at Second City. So I think there are people who have known me for 20 plus years who still think I'm a Chicagoan by birth.
You spent a lot of time there.
I did.
And
strong bonds.
Just the 3 siblings?
Yeah, me and two sisters.
Where are you in that line?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Okay.
But my sister Alice, I feel more like a middle child, and my sister Allison feels more like the oldest, though I was born before her.
Adult.
She was the first one to get married and settle down. Yeah, my sisters were both married before me.
Oh, that's fine. Well, you were holding out. You were waiting for a student that you could...
Waiting for a student that I could poach. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And Carla, so when did you move to Chicago? What happened?
I moved to Chicago to go to school. I went to Columbia College. And,
to study?
Theater.
Okay.
And then I studied at Second City for a bit, and then I moved to LA in 2002. So I've been here a long time.
Be an actress.
Yep.
I assume.
Yep. And it's going really well.
Good.
I don't know. But it's been a long time. It's been 15 years.
Yeah.
You're a Los
15.
Angelino.
I am. I've lived in LA now more than I've lived anywhere else, including Kentucky.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I never would have thought.
Time.
And most of the time I haven't really liked it. But
You lived in Florida for a while, too.
I did as a kid, yeah.
What part?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I lived in Sarasota for a few years.
Oh, Florida's the worst, right?
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Did I alienate any
Now
more
you're losing
people
all
listening?
your Florida listeners.
Well,
but you guys know. Come on.
You know it's
I went
terrible.
to Florida every year because my family had family down there. I had grandparents down there. I had at one point an aunt and uncle down there. And then my parents owned a condo down there. So we'd go down there every year, stay with my grandmother or do the condo thing or whatever. So when I was time to go to school, I wanted to study illustration. And there's a good school there, a small school called Ringling School of Art and Design.
Oh, cool.
And then I started
Affiliated with
there.
Ringling Brothers Circus?
It is actually.
Which is now defunct.
Now defunct.
Wow.
So I guess they're concentrating fully on the
drawing.
Weird.
Getting out of the circus business into the drawing.
Yeah, one of the brothers founded the school.
Crazy.
And the circus school is close by
Okay.
in Sarasota as well.
Wow.
Clown College.
Clown College.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You think they're still training clowns even if the circus no longer
Why not?
exists? Yeah, the world needs clowns.
I don't hear any protests about clowns.
Yeah.
The most powerful man in the world is a clown.
That's true.
So
God.
She studied everything. Yeah, and then I realized I want to be an actor after they kicked me out of school. And I was like, I'm going to be an actor and move back to New York. That's where it all started.
Yeah.
There you go.
So how long did you guys date before you got married?
ooh,
A really long
I
time.
gotta do math on this.
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
And there was a year that we were kind of off.
Oh yeah. So,
Yeah, so we took a
couple
year
years
off from dating, yeah.
Year off.
I remember
We're
that,
back on.
actually. I remember.
Yeah.
I have to say, I remember I was like, hey, I think I might have asked you, Craig, like, hey, how's Carla doing? You're like, yeah, that type of thing.
Actually, I do remember running into you at I.O. and
Was it
talking
me?
about it with
maybe
you.
Maybe that was it.
Maybe you talked to both of us.
I might have.
Like behind our backs.
And then I got you guys back together.
You did.
Yes, thank you, EJ.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah, it was right around when I turned 40, so I think it was just like classic like midlife crisis on my part.
Yeah.
Because I will die at 80 exactly. And then we got married in 2012, so it'll be 5 years later this year.
Seems crazy.
Which seems crazy.
Cray.
It's gone very fast.
It's gone very fast. It's been the best 4 years of my life.
Oh, it's up
you
there for me.
guys. Up there. On the top 100. It's up there.
Your years in Florida.
It's on my
are
top 100
compared,
list.
So what happened? Can I ask what happened in that year that you guys were apart? Was there other dating or regrets? Or
I dated other people.
I did not. I just kind of sat alone and regretted my choice.
Yeah.
And I think I was just really stressed out and just wondering what my future was, and just panicked at
Also,
the idea of being in
there's
such
an age difference.
There is. I'm 11 years older. Yeah.
So I can imagine now that I'm getting older, even though at the time he broke up with me, like I can imagine how that would be, if you're almost 40 and you're dating someone in their 20s, there's some different, priorities probably going on there.
Yeah.
So then we broke up and got back together about a year later.
And you're actors. It's a rough biz out there.
It's a tough biz that we're in.
Causing any additional?
Yeah, I think I was
questions?
also I don't think I was working a lot at the time, and was probably worried about like my future in LA and what the fuck am I doing in this crazy acting profession, but then since then I've gotten every year for the last 7 years or so has been like just slightly more work. Now knocking on table.
Sure.
Miming knocking on table.
Which, by the way, EJ said, don't touch the table.
Don't touch the table.
And what was the first thing that I did?
You touched the table. Yeah.
Okay. I forgive you.
So, yeah, hopefully it's hard. It's growing exponentially, slowly but surely. And that's all I've really asked for in LA is that just feel like I'm making slight incremental growth in the career,
You got your wish.
I got my wish. Yeah. Why did I wish for a rocket straight to the stars? Nope. You asked for incremental growth, and you got it. Tiny, tiny growth. Yeah.
Congratulations. It's tough.
It's a rough business, but gradually more and more people know who I am and seem to enjoy my work, and so.
Was there ever a thought of like, maybe I can go do this instead? Get this.
I have no idea what other skill. I have no other skills. Yeah. I barely have this skill. I'm not. I was a theater major. I haven't worked a day job since 1995. So it's
Except
been.
For teaching on
Well, I can.
Yeah.
I teach improv, and that's a lot of my income. In addition to working on film and TV. But I love doing that. So I love improv and I love teaching it to people. So I consider teaching improv, that's the pursuit that I love along with acting. But as far as waiting tables, I haven't done that in 22 years. There was one 3-month period where I worked in an office writing trivia for a DVD movie game. which you'd think I would be just hardwired for that. But even just like working 9 to 5 of like, oh, this is not for me. This is terrible.
Yeah, I understand. And you were one of my first teachers at IO West, one of my first long form teachers.
What level was it?
I want to say...
Because they've moved me...
6.
Probably. Yeah, they've moved me
6.
around a lot over the years. Now I'm teaching 3, which is the same curriculum that used to be 4. They flip-flopped 3 and 4. But for years I did 6. I think I was like the last teacher there, like preparing people for their graduate
And I took
show.
6 like 3 or 4 times just to take other teachers.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I had you at some point.
What was the number one thing you learned from my class, EJ?
Oh boy.
Date your students.
There we go.
Wait it
No
out.
hesitation.
Well, you and I did a show a bunch of times that I developed called Shooting the Shit.
Yep,
And one of those times we did it with Shelley Berman.
that's right.
I saw that. I remember
you see that?
Yeah.
Who was
that great.
probably 80 years old at the
At
time.
least.
Is he still
Maybe
alive?
82. He's still alive.
He's awesome. He was really funny. I remember that.
Yeah, he was. Well, there was a workshop he taught at IO that I took, and it was a lot of fun. And he was really interesting as a teacher because he would go on tangents where he'd do like stand up.
Yeah.
He would do his stand up for like 20
so
minutes
funny.
of the 2-hour class or 3-hour class or something. And then he would do the phone bit and he would do it for like 20, 30 minutes, and then he'd wait for us to applaud and stuff. It was very,
my
It was
God.
really strange. Like me and Julie were walking around, we're like, what's happening here?
That's awesome. So really, you're just paying to like be around him.
It was, but he only did that like a couple times. But he was really actually a lot of fun. It was a fun club. Paul Valancourt was in it, John Abbott, and at the end, he was very sweet. He was like, I've had a wonderful time teaching. I love you all. He was just like pouring his heart out. And he's like, if you ever want to perform together or something like that. I was like, oh, really? And then I was like,
Wow.
all right. I would love to perform with Shelley Berman if he's put it out there.
Yeah.
So I asked him, and he seemed open to it. And I asked Craig if he'd do it. And it was great. And
Yeah.
it was funny because we go in the green room that night before the show. Shelley is dressed to the nines
Yeah, I remember
in a
that.
suit.
Yeah.
And I'm as good as I get in like a button-down shirt that's too big for me or something like that, and my jeans. And Craig looks like Craig. And Shelley goes, hey, what, you guys didn't dress up for this? You remember that?
He's old
Very
school,
upset.
yeah. He played Vegas, you know. He's from that era, yeah.
I love that.
Like dressed to impress, yeah. So,
That was
yeah,
fun.
he immediately lost faith in us there. But I think we got it back during the show.
That was a
you
good
know.
show. I
think
remember
so,
that.
too. I was
Yeah.
really nervous about it, but it worked out well.
Yeah, I remember doing the Second City 50th anniversary show in 2009. A bunch of us from LA went back to do that show, and it's performers throughout Second City's entire 50-year history, including Shelley, who was part of the Compass Players, which was the precursor to Second City. And so they put together this lineup of like classic sketches throughout Second City's history, and like everybody's there. Like, so we're backstage and we're going over the running order, and you know, Steve Carell is there, Steve Colbert is there, you know, just legends, you know,
Yeah.
throughout history. And Shelley was doing like 5 minutes of stand up. And for some reason, he got offended at something of like where he was in the running order or how much time he was getting or something. And he was like pitching a fit backstage. And I'm like, dude, like, this is not about you. you
Yeah.
know? Like, but so it's interesting to see that like those little like petty show business
Yeah.
things like
Well, he got a little petty during the workshop too. Yeah, I think he bitched about Bob Newhart stealing his stuff.
right.
Stealing
Because they're
his
both
material.
famous for doing phone bits
Yeah.
in their stand-ups.
So
Yeah.
he got like real serious, like uncomfortably mad at Bob Newhart.
Yeah.
And like one or two other things, a couple times, but overall it was an enjoyable class. You okay?
Sorry, I have to get a tissue.
Oh, that's okay.
I don't want to snot on your microphone.
No, get a tissue.
Feel
get
free
a
to
tissue.
keep that in.
I will. No, I will. It's easier than editing.
Amen.
For real.
What's your setup? You guys do a podcast called Craigslist. What's your setup like? You have mics like this?
Pretty similar to
Yeah,
this.
very similar.
These mics may be the same.
We use a Zoom instead of a soundboard because I had a soundboard and it was too complicated for me.
Yeah, I don't know what most of this does. I just keep it as
There's just
is.
a lot of buttons for me. So
We do it through Audacity. Is that the app that we use? I got a note online this week from a listener who said that we need to use a compressor. So I'm going to look into that function.
I just love it when people have a lot of feedback about that kind of stuff for a free podcast.
Well, but yeah.
Sounds good. It sounds good to me.
That's good.
Nice.
I always want to make it sound better, though. So, I will take the note. I'm going to look into using the compressor.
Craig totally edits it himself. When we started it, I said, I'm not going to do any of that. So he learned how to do it, which was awesome.
Yeah, it's challenging because I'm not that tech savvy.
Right.
And, so we're not engineers. We're putting out this podcast independently, with, we're losing money on it.
Yeah, me too.
But I do want to, make the sound as good as I can with the limited resources. So.
Do you guys do backups?
No.
Well, like saving a backup?
Yeah, like in case something. I have this as a backup.
Oh yeah, no, we don't.
He's taping us
we don't.
Too.
So far,
it's good to have.
Miming knocking wood.
It's good to have. I've used this as a couple times because even last night somehow I lost the audio.
Really?
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. Are you on GarageBand or?
I'm on GarageBand.
Okay, yeah, that's how Janet Varney does hers.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like shit, and I listened back to the recording that I did there, and it sounds pretty good. So I'll use that.
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, if early on when I started doing it, I interviewed a girl I know for like nearly 2 hours, and then realized I didn't get any of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a backup. No backup.
I've had that happen when people have either recorded interviews with me or podcasts with me. And we've talked for an hour and a half, and then they'd be like, "Oh, when did this stop?"
Yeah.
And that's really scary. So we've not had that.
My nightmare story.
On Craigslist.
I do another podcast called Improv Yak, which is just me interviewing improvisers, and it was kind of early on. And I'm still not great at all this stuff, by the way, but I've gotten better. But I learned a big lesson because early on I was interviewing Paul F. Tompkins, and I could not get my stuff to work for anything. And then I thought it was working. And it wasn't.
His mic was off the whole time, right?
His mic was off the whole time. And it wasn't just like it was turned off, you guys. I'm not an idiot. It was like something to do with the way it was plugged in.
Yeah. Number one, check the on-off switch.
But it taped on the computer, which was
okay.
yeah, thank God.
Oh,
but it
God.
sounded terrible.
I'll go back and listen to it.
But at least it was there.
I'll go listen to it.
Yeah.
Well, this little thing is a voice memo on the phone. It'll record for hours.
That's
And
awesome.
it's nice to have. Just saying.
That's good to know.
That's smart, actually.
Yeah.
Just saying. So you guys started a podcast called Craigslist. Craig, I assume this was your brainchild.
Why would you think that? Yeah.
What made you want to do a podcast?
Well, everybody else is, so why not get our feet in the water? I'm a list maker. Just for my whole life, I've loved to make lists. I used to listen to Casey Kasem's Top 40 every week and write them down. And then I would do my own music charts and stuff like that. I would do stats throughout the year of charting which were I tried to predict what I thought the top 50 songs of the year would be and compare them with Casey's list at the end. So this is like at age 10, I was doing stuff like that. And then I became obsessed with like the Billboard Top 40. I got a Billboard subscription. I would pay attention to like box office lists. And then when people would make lists of best movies and stuff like that. So I've been keeping my 100 favorite movies list since I was about 16 years old.
Yeah.
So over 30 years. And I revise the list all the time. And it was getting time for me to start going back and revise the list again. And everybody who finds out that I have this list is just kind of fascinated by it, of like, why? And, like people are kind of weirded out that my brain works that way. Of like most people don't think that they can quantify art or quantify their favorites in that way. Everybody wants to know what the criteria are for it. And Carla and I watch most movies together, and we actually our tastes line up much more than you would think from the podcast. But when you're talking about somebody's favorites, you're usually talking about something that just kind of hits them personally in a deep way, which is so tied into who they are as a person. So I like the idea of having to defend my choices and maybe having to figure out who I am as a person through the tastes that I have.
Do you find that you have to defend yourself? I mean, it's subjective, right? Everybody's opinions are...
Well, with this one, yeah, I definitely do. But the point of the podcast is we're watching my 100 favorite movies from 100 to 1 movie at a time. Some of them Carla has seen, some of them she has not. And then we talk about them.
I think for me, it's like, I knew about the list, and at one point we had gone over his list, and you don't really have an opinion when somebody's just listing something. But if I have to actually sit down and invest 2 to 3 hours of my life, then yeah, I want to know why it's on your list. Like, why did we just watch this movie?
Oh, yeah. And that's good. It makes a good podcast.
Yeah,
you're talking about it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I hadn't thought about that. We actually, when we go to see movies at the ArcLight or whatever, that's our favorite place to see movies. We usually agree on whether or not we liked the movie overall. So yeah, this list has been an interesting kind of opposition.
Yeah, so far we've covered movies that are also among Carla's favorites. So there's been some that you knew going in that you loved. There's a few that you'd seen before and thought you liked and realized that you didn't like them, seeing them again. Yeah. There's a few that were new to you that you hated, and there's a couple that were new to you that you really liked.
Yeah.
So it's really run the gamut.
So far, so good.
Mostly, she's called me out on how male-centric my list is, sure. And she wants more of a feminist perspective in there. So
that's kind of with your list. Your mental list,
right.
Carla. Do you have mostly women-centric films in mind?
That's a good question. I don't know. I need to sit down and figure out at least a top 10 list so I can start to answer this kind of question, because a few people have asked me that before. Yeah. I don't know that I even could name my top 5 right now if I didn't sit down and think about it. But it would be an interesting thing to do, and then see if maybe all of mine are dude films too.
Well, it's hard. I don't have a film directed by a woman on my list, but how many films directed by women are there? It's such a small percentage. And the truth is there's just not enough minority stories told overall in film. I mean, it's a very white male.
Most of your list are there's only a handful that are from this century, right?
Yeah,
they're mostly from the 1900s.
Yeah, I think I counted 7 from this century and 1 from this decade. So yeah,
right.
Mostly from that old century that we were in, the 20th. Yeah. And partially because a lot of these movies have been on my list since the first time I saw them as a teenager, and they're never coming off. Right.
There's nostalgia factor, and
it's harder and harder. The more movies you see, the harder it is for a movie to stand out. But the first 50 movies that you watch in your life, probably 30 of them are going to be classics to you because you haven't seen that many movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Goonies is definitely up there.
Me too.
Yeah?
Me too.
We must be the same age, I bet.
I'm 41.
Okay, I'm 36.
Okay, so I'm in the middle of you two.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of you two. I was inspired by your podcast to try to figure out my own, loose list.
Okay. Loose lists, sink schists.
That's the kind of humor you get when you listen to the Craigslist podcast.
Yep, pretty much.
So if that's enough to get you to subscribe, loose lists, sink schists.
So I went to my shelves and I looked through all my movies, and I went to my digital copied movies and started writing down all these movies. I have it whittled down to about 350.
350
of my favorite 100 movies.
Okay.
Wow.
But
that's a pretty good 100.
Yeah. I need to clump, though. The Lord of the Rings movies, I'll count as one movie.
Okay. I did not. I kept counting them separate, and so I have Return of the King on my list, but not the other two.
Yeah. Except next week, is it next week that you have 2 movies that you're counting as one?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is confusing.
It's my list, so I can bend the rules however
whatever
I
you
want
want.
to.
I'm not judging.
Yeah,
I'm judging.
There's these two French films, Jean de Florette and Manon of the Spring, that together tell one story. I think we just decided in the car, though, that we're going to table that episode for a week, and we're going to do our best of 2016 episode next week instead.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I just need
Interesting.
I want to try to give the 4-hour French films a try, and I just don't have the energy this week. So
I don't know. You might lose me on those ones. Like
Yeah.
Years ago, I was like, I want to study all the greats and the Truffauts and the Renoir, whatever.
Yeah.
And then your very first podcast, number 100,
La Dolce Vita, yeah.
I said, well, I'm not going to watch that. so I'll listen to the podcast because I'm skipping the ones that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to spoil anything.
Okay.
But I'm like, I'll listen to this one.
yeah, good call. Good call.
So do you think you have it narrowed down to a top 10?
No, but my
Is that
I
the
would
goal eventually to rank?
Probably
them?
not. Probably
Okay,
not.
just to get an idea of what they.
Just to get an idea.
Yeah.
I was like, because it would take a lot of work, and
Yeah.
I don't even know where I would begin to say what's a favorite and what's not. Like you have criteria of I must have seen it 3 times.
Yep.
What's some of the other criteria?
That's pretty much it. Have I seen it 3 times, and do I really love it? Well, what it's not is like my attempt to say of like these are the 100 greatest movies of all time,
Right.
And it's also not my like when I'm just chilling at home, this is the movie I can pop in and enjoy without. And that to me, the more people I talk to, let's put on a Dolce Vita, have a pizza, have a pizza, it's a good. But it seems like that's what most people think of as their favorites, as the movie they can watch the most
Right.
times. And that's definitely not it for me because there are things on there that are difficult to watch.
Right. I would say, and you're more of the opposite of
Yeah.
like stuff you'd like to watch a lot.
Yeah, I can't imagine that anything would be in my top 10 that I wouldn't be able to watch 10 times.
Yeah, and I think I'm in probably the middle again of you two, where on my list there's stuff I've watched 100 times and stuff I'd watched once. Like Schindler's List, I haven't watched that again.
Yeah.
But I know it's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
And really well done. But I'm like, can I watch it 2 more times? Like, I guess I could.
Well, and then that's where it gets tricky when you use the word, these are my top 100 favorite movies, or these are the top 100 best films.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because your favorite implies that you would be able to watch it again. So Schindler's List probably wouldn't be on that list. But the best films, in your opinion, you maybe wouldn't have Goonies on there, even though you've seen it 300 times or whatever.
Yeah, is it the best?
Because is it the
movie?
best? Yeah.
That's why I call it my 100 favorite movies. Mine, all me.
Yeah.
Well, that's why
Craig.
I'm wearing my Back to the Future shirt because my number 1 pick would be Back to the Future.
Yes.
So you know that.
I like
Yes.
that movie quite a bit too.
And I would clump the other 2 in there just for fun.
Yeah.
As my number 1, A, B, and C.
could
I had
watch
never
those
seen the
movies a lot.
sequels until about 2 years ago.
Whoa,
Never seen 2 or 3.
Greg.
I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah,
They are.
Yeah.
They're fun.
They hold
they're
up.
repetitive.
Yeah.
But it's still fun stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just like to see those characters in new situations, though, doing the same thing.
And you do.
And you do. And it's great.
Do you
It's
ever?
exciting and fun.
Well, speaking of SAG Awards happened this weekend.
Yeah, we just voted this morning.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
How'd you do? Yeah, so you said you were very proud of your picks.
Well,
Oh.
I tweeted, I think I was trying to tweet something to make it look like a Trump-related post, and then the joke was that I was voting for the SAG Awards, but clearly I didn't write the tweet well enough for people to get the joke. So I was like, I think I wrote, I'm really happy with the candidates that I voted for, because it had candidates and not nominees. But somehow people didn't pick up on that. And they were like, me too, there's so many great performances this year. I'm like, no, it was a political joke.
I didn't get the
You
joke
guys suck.
either.
Unfriend.
I actually thought, why is Craig bragging about voting for the SAG Awards?
I have my SAG card, everybody.
Just because voting is fresh in my mind, I don't know. But yeah, Carla and I were just comparing votes driving here.
Okay.
You want to do it?
What do you got? What do you
Let's
got?
do it. Best actor? Who do you have? Let's start with the men.
Shit. I'd have to. I think Best Actor.
I went for Casey.
Viggo Mortensen.
You went for Viggo. I
Yeah.
went for Casey Affleck.
And I went for Denzel Washington for
Okay.
Fences.
Okay. Now I haven't seen. Did you guys see everything?
I've seen everything except Hacksaw Ridge.
And I have not seen Hacksaw Ridge, and I won't. And I have not seen Arrival yet, but I will.
Okay, I haven't seen a lot of them. I saw Arrival. I saw Manchester. I saw Moonlight. Blah, 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 blah. I saw La La Land. And I saw Mr. Fantastic. So I've seen some stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm mostly basing my picks on what I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen, great performance in a not very good movie, I thought.
Well, Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah, Captain Fantastic.
Captain, I'm sorry.
Mr. Fantastic is the stretchy guy from the Fantastic Four.
That's what I thought it was about. I was like, this
You
is
thought it was going to be a superhero movie.
I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be a superhero movie too. I think it's a very weird title for that movie.
Captain Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't set you up for what you're about to see at all.
They never use that term in the movie, do they?
I don't think so. I don't. Why? Do you know why he's called that, or why they call it that?
I don't remember.
At least
I've only
in-
seen it once.
At
Yeah.
least in Fences, I'll tell you what, if you see Fences, you'll
You
never
know.
say, like, why do they call this movie Fences? Because this is the whole thing where it's like, I'm going to build a fence.
And then he
I'm going
does.
to keep everything outside. I'm going to keep everything inside.
Yeah, and then you literally get to see a fence.
That's your Denzel Washington
That's my
impression.
Denzel.
Pretty good.
That's real good.
Not at the level of Jay Farrow, but pretty good. And you also definitely know he used to play baseball in that.
Yeah. Yep.
Because there's 2 strikes, and you're up to bat now.
I'm going to need you to do a little bit of that for every movie we talk about.
And you got to get in the bullpen and have some popcorn and Cracker Jack. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's pretty good. I'll nominate you, Craig. What about Best Actress?
I went for Amy Adams.
Oh, interesting.
I would have voted for Annette Bening for 20th Century Women, but she was not nominated. Who
Yeah.
did I vote for?
You
Natalie
went for
Portman.
Natalie Portman.
Okay,
For Jackie. Yeah.
I did Emma Stone for La La
La
Land.
Good choice.
I
She was
I
great
could
in
have
it.
gone for that too.
I thought she was very good in it. I don't think she's the most dynamic singer,
Sure.
Yeah.
but she charmed me from beginning to end. In the
Yeah.
movie. And I don't love the movie.
Right.
I like the movie.
Me too. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's getting a real bad rap with some people, and I don't
Yeah.
see why people are giving
Backlash.
it such a hard
Yeah.
time.
I know people that hate. I know a couple of my friends that I hated it.
That's so weird to
Tells me a lot about who you are. Those kind of,
Judge.
yeah.
Very cynical.
Very cynical, judgy people
Like
are the
just
people who don't
just
like it. Just buy into
relax.
it.
Just relax and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
You don't have to love it though.
Make a list.
Yeah.
All right. Supporting actor.
I went for Jeff Bridges in Hell or High Water.
Oh, I gotta see that. I'm dying to see that movie.
It's good. You'll like it.
It's like his favorite movie of the year.
It's my favorite movie
It's
of the year.
like
Really?
It's like
It's
my
like-
favorite movie of the year.
you make lists every year.
Oh yeah, I have a top 25 for every year since 1989. As well as top 10 performances in each category, as well as top 10 directors. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So if you said who was your number 7 supporting actress in 1999, I can pull that up on my phone right now and tell you.
All right. Pull it up. I need you to do it. What's your?
In the
who's your-
meantime, I'll say that the actor from Moonlight was my pick.
Mahershala Ali. Mine too.
So great.
Mine too.
So amazing.
And I think he also should have been nominated for Luke Cage because he was so good in Luke Cage.
Okay.
So good, so good.
I have not watched Luke Cage yet.
At least watch the one season.
Okay.
He's so good. And he's in it a lot more than he is in Moonlight because I thought he'd have a bigger role in Moonlight.
Yeah. He definitely stuck with me though.
Yeah.
That whole movie was amazing for
I
me.
love that movie.
My
I thought
favorite.
It was a really
Yeah.
different and important.
Yeah.
There's just a point of view in a story that I've never seen.
And very moving and just I like a film that sticks with you
Yeah.
for a while, and that one really affected me. Do you got it?
What did I say? 1999?
Yeah.
Was it 99? Yeah, number 7.
Number 7, Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, I only did 5 for that year.
Who was the 5th?
I called your bluff, Cackowski.
Helena Bonham Carter for Fight Club.
Was number 5? She was awesome.
She was awesome.
What was your
number
number
one?
1?
Chloe Sevigny for Boys Don't Cry.
No.
Nicole Kidman for Eyes Wide Shut.
No.
Toni Collette for The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Come on, when she's talking about
Yeah,
when he
sure,
tells her
sure,
that
sure.
her mom was there at her ballet recital.
Sure.
Angelina Jolie for Girl Interrupted. She was the Oscar winner that year.
Is that the number one?
No, that was number 4.
Number 4, okay.
Number 1, who was it again?
Chloe Sevigny?
No.
Chloe Sevigny.
Supporting actress this year, I went for Viola Davis.
I went for Naomi
Harris.
From
From Moonlight.
Yep.
As did I.
Yeah,
She was
EJ.
very good in it.
She really was.
And I didn't recognize her. She's from something else. She was just on
28 Days Later.
Right.
something else, though. What is she on? Shit.
She's British.
Yeah, she was just on the Daily Show talking about it. I was like, oh, that's you. You were in that.
Yeah,
That's
she's
amazing.
pretty amazing.
She did a great transformation.
Yeah.
Because she's a mess in the movie and she's gorgeous in real life.
Yeah.
Give her an award.
For a award.
That's how it works.
What else?
And then cast, I went for Moonlight.
Me too.
I think I did as well. Okay, we all agree. Comedy, right? Was there a comedy or something?
Yeah.
Well, for TV, there's
Veep.
comedy. I don't watch any of the comedies that
Well,
they
Veep.
have on the SAG Awards. I watch Veep, yeah.
Yeah,
I definitely
picked
went for the
Veep.
cast of Veep, and I went for Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I
Me
went
too.
for Veep and Lily Tomlin because I do really like Grace and Frankie.
I haven't watched
You've watched all of Grace and Frankie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I dig it.
But yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she blows me away every time.
And then I went for Titus Burgess because he was the only performance that I had seen. I don't watch Transparent or Shameless
I
or
watched
Modern
Transparent.
Family.
But
I avoided Jeffrey Tambor.
I voted for Titus
Mm-hmm.
because he's
Okay.
real funny.
He's real funny.
Transparent's not really a comedy, and it annoys me that it always gets nominated for comedy. Do you
Yeah.
disagree?
Not necessarily. I don't disagree. Like, for some reason, what was it? Golden Globes last year, The Martian was...
That was so bizarre.
Yeah. Super
or
weird.
Matt Damon won for The Martian in a comedy or something.
Yeah.
He even
They're trying
referenced
to-
it this year.
Yeah.
They're trying to crack down more on category fraud.
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
But it's always interesting of like it's publicists and studios that kind of decide like where's the best chance of this person winning, you know, because of like honestly, is Viola Davis not a lead in Fences? I mean,
Right. She
she's
totally is.
she's equal with Denzel, and they're both in the whole movie. You
Actually,
know?
if she was nominated for actress, I would have voted for her for
Yeah.
best actress.
That's what happened with Marisa Tomei and My Cousin Vinny. She was best supporting actress
Yeah.
and she won the Oscar.
Yeah. We were at a party recently where a friend of ours was trying to convince us the conspiracy theory that Jack Palance mistakenly read off the wrong name is true, and he had all this evidence, and he's like, "Watch the video; it's right here."
Well,
You can-"
he had me until he showed us the video.
and then it's yeah,
All of the evidence lined up for me until he said, "Now watch the clip," and then it didn't look at all like what he said it was going to
who
look
read-
like.
Is that who read for Marisa Tomei?
yeah, because Jack Palance had won the previous year for City Slickers,
Right.
if you recall,
Oh, yeah.
and gave the crazy ass acceptance speech and started to do one-handed push-ups and
Yeah.
everything, and you're like, this guy cray. And then because he was the winner from the previous year, he announced supporting actress
Right.
the next year. They traditionally do one of the supporting categories as the first award of the night. It was the first award of the night. Judy Davis was the front runner for Husbands and Wives. Everybody thought she was going to win that year, and it was 4 Brits and Marisa Tomei.
And I guess like all the other actresses had won a major award leading up to the Academy Awards,
Yes.
except for Marisa Tomei. She
Yeah.
was the only one who had not won anything.
She was not on the radar in any way.
And then Jack Palance came out and acted a little drunk.
Yeah.
Acted?
Was probably very drunk, and it was the first award of the night. And the only people who know the truth are the two
Pricewaterhouse
Yeah.
accountants.
And so it's like, why cause a ruckus
Well,
and say
it
that
was
it was
written
wrong?
on an envelope, right? So,
Oh yeah, what was the thing with the envelope?
He had some conspiracy theory for everything. I
Because it
don't
wasn't
know.
handed to her.
Yeah.
Like he hung on to it or something. Jack Palance, like something happened where,
Yeah.
Take your award, sweetheart.
yeah, I wish I could remember.
Also, she was the last nominee read, so of like in his mind, that Jack Palance was so senile at that point that he just went for whatever name he could remember. And the winner is Marisa Tomei.
Did he not read the envelope?
That's the thing is like our friend Sam, I'm going to say his first
Yes.
name. Our friend Sam was like, watch how he pauses. And then you don't really see that big of a pause. So that's where he lost me in his argument.
Sam Levine.
Yeah.
We can't reveal anymore.
Well, he did it as part of a show at Sketchfest
That's
last
right,
weekend
yeah.
or 2 weekends ago. So
Well, don't you think it would have come out by this point? Like something, there would have been
but
something.
they would have lost. I mean, this is true
A lot
too.
of people believe this.
But
Really?
they would lose their jobs. Like,
Yeah.
what's the name of the firm?
Pricewaterhouse.
Like, there's no way that if they came out with that the Academy wouldn't find a new firm to work with, right?
That's so. I feel so bad for Marisa Tomei.
I
That wins
know.
an Oscar.
Yeah.
And probably legitimately. I'm going with legitimately.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, nope. She got it from a drunk guy, and I don't even remember one name.
It's a good conspiracy theory. It feels in the realm of possibility to me.
Well, why
although I'm not
do
convinced.
conspiracy theories exist? It's because there's something that we consider incomprehensible, and so like conventional logic,
Right.
for some reason, so whether it's towers collapsing, of like
Or
jet
Trump
fuel
being
can't
president.
melt steel girders,
Crowd sizes.
yeah, crowd sizes.
Yeah.
It's odd that for some reason people think that's one of the strangest Oscar wins in history, so they have to develop a conspiracy theory around it. And
I thought she was great. And she was. I mean, it's weird that a comedy gets nominated.
Right.
That's kind of the weirdest part.
yeah,
But she was awesome in it. It's a great movie.
And also, a lot of supporting actors, not a lot, but there's been several who've won for comedies, right? Right around that time, too. Like Mira Sorvino won for that
Mighty
Woody Allen
Aphrodite.
movie.
Yeah.
There was another,
I mean, does Shakespeare in Love count as a comedy?
I think so.
sure, comedy-ish.
Romantic comedy?
I had Marisa Tomei number 4 for 1992.
Who was number one?
Judy Davis for Husbands and Wives.
Poor Judy. She never won an Academy Award, huh?
Yeah.
She deserves it, though. She's good. Let's just give
I liked
awards
her-
to people that we like.
Wasn't she in the Ref?
Yes, I love The Ref.
Good.
Isn't that a great movie?
It's a top 100.
Yes, me too, for sure.
God damn. Hold on one second.
Pause.
And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Sorry about that.
No
These
worries.
guys were like, at like 10 o'clock in the morning, they go, we'll be back in an hour. And now it's
Oh, no.
3 o'clock. It's 5 hours
What are they
later.
working on?
They're fixing our front gate door. Front gate lock. The
okay.
knob. The knob. There's something up with the knob. It's just for security purposes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So who else is nominated at the SAG Awards?
Who did
What
you?
else?
Or
Directors?
dramas, TV dramas.
Oh yeah,
Dramas.
John Lithgow.
I went for John Lithgow. I thought he was fantastic as
Amazing.
Winston Churchill. I went for the cast of The Crown as well.
I did.
And then I really wanted to go for Claire Foy, but I thought Tandy Newton was undeniable in
Oh, yeah.
Westworld.
Yeah, I voted
so.
for Tandy.
And I voted for Westworld.
I voted for Stranger Things.
Okay.
Love Stranger Things
Yeah.
too.
I almost voted for The Crown, but then I thought, let's give Stranger Things
I
some
haven't seen The
love.
Crown yet.
It's great.
It's real good.
Yeah.
And especially if you're like, oh, another like stuffy British drama about upper crust people of like, and I could give a shit about the Royals, and this
Yeah.
really made me care about
Yeah.
the Royals. Yeah. Matt Smith is great in
Plus,
it.
it's just a fascinating piece of history.
I learned a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
It really does give you an idea of what it's like to be a princess, and just like the circumstances of like her father wasn't supposed to be king. She didn't expect to be queen as early or as young as she was.
Yeah.
And they just give you a good sense of like the history that's going on in the world around her.
Totally.
So they really get into some of the minutia of it, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, I binged it when we were in London, actually. We were
Yeah.
in London for a couple weeks, and it was so fun to binge watch the show and then go be a tourist and get to see some of the things that I had just watched in the show.
What were you doing in London?
I taught for 2 weeks at a theater called the Free Association, which is a long-form improv theater in London.
Awesome.
And I brought my wife along, and we had a great time.
Yeah, we did a show. That was really
We
fun.
did a little Orange Tuxedo duo improv.
And then I went to so many museums.
Yeah. Are you a museum goer? You like it?
Like all of a sudden I'm a museum goer.
Well, they're all free.
Yes, most
Or
of
most of them are free, yeah.
free. And it's incredible. And and then we went to DC shortly thereafter and went to a couple museums, and I was like, poof, these museums are not as good as the ones in London.
Really?
I grew up in the Smithsonian, and at least the ones that we went to were a little run down compared with my memory of them, and so that might be just like the federal budget, getting cut. Like Air and Space is in a drastic need of an upgrade at this point. And I remember going to that museum when it opened, and it was like considered to be the most glorious museum in the world.
Right. And it was not anymore. A little fun thing, if you're going to London, you guys listening, all the museums have free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I was able to get on my phone anytime I went to a museum.
That's right.
And be connected.
That's nice, because traveling with like your phone, there's like those
It's tough.
international fees and stuff
Yep.
like that. That gets tricky.
Yep.
Yeah, we turned off cellular for 2 weeks and just used Wi-Fi, but there was tons of free Wi-Fi all over London. So
That's great.
yeah.
And you guys do you mentioned Orange Tuxedo.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a improv show you guys do. You named yourselves Orange Tuxedo.
We did.
That's after one of the cat who is still alive is the orange cat, and then we had a tuxedo cat. So this was a time where we had 2 cats, so it was in honor of them.
Orange tuxedo, yep.
Audrey, the cat, is no longer with us.
She was a tough one.
But she lives on in our improv duo. Yeah, we've actually we've had the duo off and on for a few years, but we really got serious about it in the last year, and we've done like 7 festivals.
Yeah.
And we've played all over the country, and now London. So
You guys did some sort of tour across the country, didn't you?
We did.
Well, to get to London, we drove, which is really hard. We did drive L.A. to Denver. We did the Denver Improv Fest.
Okay.
We stopped in Omaha, did a workshop there. We went through Chicago. Oddly enough, didn't do any improv in Chicago. We just visited my sister
Took some
there.
time off.
Visited family in Cincinnati. Did a workshop in D.C., and then we flew to London from D.C., and then my parents gave us a car, and we drove all the way back across the country. So in 5 weeks, we saw 17 states, England, and Wales in that time.
We saw a lot of red states, too.
A lot of red states.
Really? And that was before the election?
We left the day after the election.
Oh, really?
And so
Yeah.
we're
like, fuck this!
but then we like drove right into the heart of it all.
Yeah. Utah the first night. Yeah.
Yeah, and the first hotel we stayed in, we walked in and the Fox News was blaring, and like people are just like so excited.
They were
hanging out.
clapping.
Yeah,
No.
it was a real wake up call, and we needed it. We needed to see the reality of what is going on.
I mean, how are your families? Do you differ from your families?
Yes.
You differ?
My family is very conservative.
Really?
And my family's very liberal.
Yeah. And I was just telling Craig on our way over here that I think I have to defriend all of my family on Facebook.
My sister unfriended me.
Did she?
Yeah.
Is she conservative?
I guess. I guess so.
Oh, no.
Yes, she is.
Where's she live?
Long Island.
Okay.
And I think Long Island is largely conservative.
Yeah.
I grew up there, and I remember growing up with a lot of racism around. And when you're the straight white guy, a lot of people tell you shit.
Oh, right, right.
So there's I remember a lot of that stuff. And it's funny, when I was posting stuff after the election, a lot of the hate I would get would be from guys I went to high school with that are still on Long Island.
Yeah.
That I haven't talked to in 20 years.
Right.
And I'm like, unfriend.
Yeah. I love my family. I would say that it's more for them, it's more like the financial stuff, the taxes, and being for more for states' rights as opposed to big government, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it still is so it just doesn't make sense. I can't in my mind like understand. I can't like imagine the good people that I know voting for Trump. Like I just can't.
I'm pretty sure my parents might have. Because I'd go home and they'd be complaining about Obama, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what do you do? And I'm sure it's got to be a money thing. My parents are very money obsessed.
Yeah.
So maybe their taxes went up or something, or I don't know. But they're like, oh, Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
And then they like Trump, and they're like, well, he's not a politician. I'm like, okay, that's true.
That's a bad thing,
That's
right?
not a selling point.
That's
Yeah.
not so, like if you had needed heart surgery, would you want somebody that's not a heart surgeon?
He has a zero experience in any form of public service.
No,
Yeah.
nothing.
Zero.
And even in his own businesses, he's got tons of problems. And
I think you're not wrong about the idea of like the Trump guys were the guys who had never left Long Island, because there's something about just kind of remaining in your insular world, and when you have maybe a strong sense of like place, and like these are my people and these are the people I identify with right here in this place where I am, and I understand that, but I think and that all of your family has stayed in Cincinnati their entire lives,
Yeah,
and I think it's something that we see a lot. I mean, there is one reason that I'm happy to be an actor and in the arts is the number of people that I've met that are different than me, even if we talk about improv could be a lot more diverse, and it can. It's because it is the arts. It's still a lot more diverse than a typical segment of society, and so like I've just met a wide range of people, and I've done a lot of traveling over the years. I've seen a lot of the world, and I've seen a lot of the country, and I think there is something to that as far as expanding your horizons.
But did you see Trump on his first interview? I only saw pieces of it, but he's like, "This world's a disaster. This is a disaster."
That's a good one. That's a
That's a better
impression.
Trump than mine.
That's a really good one.
It is the country's a disaster.
You've got the
world's
look
a
It's like,
down.
what the fuck are you talking about? I've lived
I'm a disaster.
for 25 years. I've lived in two of the three biggest cities in this country, Chicago and LA.
Yeah.
And again, I'm lucky because I'm a white dude, but I've not run into any violent crime.
They're sending the feds into Chicago. That's what they're gonna do. That's what he wants to do.
I loved I was reading some of the reactions to that statement from people in Chicago, and they're all like, please, go for it. Let's see it. Let's see it actually happen.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Trump?
Yeah.
He thinks he's a fucking cowboy who's just. And do you remember, back in the late 80s of like with the Central Park 5 in New York, of like he took out a full page ad in the Times, like saying they should all be thrown in jail and everything. So this is not a new trend for him, and they were all innocent. Yeah.
That's such a heartbreaking story.
And then, how about wanting to see Obama? He's like, I know about Obama's birth certificate. I know things. He was on Stern talking to me. He's like, I know things. And Stern would be like, what do you know? He's like, I can't tell you right now. I know things. And then 8 years later, he goes, okay, it turns out he was born here. It's fine. So let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he knew damn well what he was doing with that, and there's tons of people who still believe that to this day, because if you repeat a lie that many times in that public a forum, people are going to just assume it's the truth.
Let's get out of this conversation.
Thanks, EJ.
It was my fault. I started it.
You're welcome.
And then I just realized I don't want to
It's
be on record for anything.
It's cathartic.
Come talk to me to my face.
All right, so you were up to number 80 on your podcast?
We just
Is that about
finished,
right?
number 80, Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, which I just listened to. Yeah, Jamie Moyer.
Jamie Moyer,
Who's
who's one of our
hilarious.
favorite impervisers and a good friend of ours. She's so funny on that episode.
You've had some nice guests, Paul F. Tompkins.
Yeah, didn't record him, but he was on.
Ben Actor,
Yeah.
right? Guys like that. And you know these guys from the Thrilling Adventure Hour.
Yeah.
You're really
Yeah, I was part of that show for over 10 years. We had a podcast that was just excerpts of our stage show that we did at Largo for a number of years. And
seen it a couple times there.
it was so fun. We definitely missed doing that show. We kind of had our final finale, because we had like almost a year's worth of final shows at the Ace Hotel Theater, which is this gorgeous like Art Deco theater from the
beautiful.
20s that they just renovated. And we sold about 1,500 tickets to that.
Whoa.
And we've got such a rabid fan base, which has really helped with Craigslist too, of like a lot of the hardcore listeners of Craigslist were Thrilling Adventure fans.
That's great.
They're all real nice too.
And I've even seen you at Comic-Cons. Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for about 3 years, like Thrilling played every San Diego Comic-Con. We did New York Comic-Con. We did Seattle. We did Chicago. There might be another one or two that I'm forgetting, but it was cool. Like, I don't know that I would go to a Comic-Con again just to have fun, you know, because I feel like I've seen it. I know it.
Well, if you don't like crowds, that's like...
I'm not crazy about crowds, you know, and sometimes you just got to kind of go where the tide is of just like put yourself in the middle of it and just get washed up
it's
in
not fun.
the flow.
Like you can't just like go browse the floor.
Yeah.
You can't do that, really.
No.
You gotta... It's work.
Not at San Diego or New York, definitely.
Really.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. What other lists are you working on right now?
Well, I do. Actually, I'm going to redo my top 100 albums soon.
Oh, okay.
Too. Yeah, that's much easier because as opposed to watching a 2-hour movie, you listen to a 30 to 45 minute, CD.
Do you think so? After you do your top 100 of the movies, you'll do another list,
Carla?
music list.
Carla?
I have no idea.
Well, why are you asking her?
Oh, are we going to do it as a podcast or am I just going to redo the...
No, as a podcast.
Probably not. We'll probably stop it at the movies, but that's not going to stop me from doing the music
Unless
list.
we get sponsorship.
Sure.
If we can start making money doing this, that'd be amazing.
How about Craig's revised list?
Oh.
Yeah. As soon as we finish number 1, I'll do my new list. We'll go right back to 100 and we'll start it all over again.
Because there have been a few times where you rewatch a movie and you're like, I think I would either take it off the list or replace it.
Yeah.
Like even Pinocchio, I think you mentioned that.
I think Pinocchio will stay on, but it'll be more like 100 or 99. For sentimental reasons, I'm keeping it on the list. But there's been like 3 or 4 that are definitely leaving, and another 3 or 4 that may leave, depending on how many new things I want to put in there. I want to get some new blood in there.
Have you been thinking, when you watch a movie now, do you go, is this good enough to be my... the top?
Well,
That's a good question.
Immediately when I watch, I just finished watching Fences this morning and immediately put it on my best of 2016 list. Got to figure out where it goes. I think I put it around number 20.
Sure, I mean that's 2016 though. That's
2016. Yeah.
You really liked Hell or High Water this year.
Yeah, but even that, I don't know if that's in my top 200 movies.
Okay.
You know,
because you have a second list of.
I got my 100 that are ranked. I've got
101.
another 100 that are in alphabetical order, but it's tough to get on there. There's a lot of things that I love. And
you have a top 100 in alphabetical order. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's the number 101 through 200. I haven't ranked those. I just put them in alphabetical.
I see.
It's like honorable mention.
I see.
Basically.
Well, I mean, why not? When you're done with this top 100, you go to like the bottom 100.
My 100 least favorite movies? Oh, man.
Something like that.
Sure.
That'd be funny.
Oh, but those are the ones I can't imagine rewatching, There's actually a lot more bad movie podcasts than there are good movie podcasts. I mean, movies where they intentionally watch bad movies, You know? Maybe because it's easier to joke about them, but I love movies so much that a bad movie just depresses me and makes me angry. It's not fun for me. I mean, there's a few that are so nutballs crazy that they're fun to watch, but most of them are just like, oh, this is bad.
We tried to go see The Room a few years ago.
It was depressing.
And we were both I don't even think we stayed for the whole thing.
No, well, it was because Tommy Wiseau was there.
Oh, right.
Oh, The Room, not Room, but The Room.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, The Room, not
Room
The
with Brie Larson. Fantastic.
We went to see The Room, and that's the one where they throw spoons at the screen and yell at the women in it. Yeah, it's so depressing, and I just felt bad.
You have to see it with a riff track. Do you guys know riff tracks?
Yeah.
You got to see it with a
What
riff
is
tracks.
that?
Riff tracks. Remember Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah.
So those guys, a few of those guys went off and did their own thing. Same idea. Audio commentary to bad movies.
Oh, okay.
And they do The Room, and they did. Sometimes they'll do a live stage commentary in front of an audience, and it'll get shown throughout the country on different movie screens.
I see.
Through Fathom.
I have heard of that, yeah.
And me and Deborah were obsessed with it. And The Room is the best with the riff tracks.
But they're not mean, probably,
They're a little mean. They can be a little cruel.
It gets a little tough for me. And then Tommy he just seems clearly
mentally ill.
And
he could be president.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Okay, excuse me. I told the guy, the lead guy, the owner, I was like, all right, he said, we had gate stuff put in. And yesterday, he goes, can they come back to do more work? I said, that's fine, but they got to be done by 1:30.
Right.
And they are not. It is 3:15, and they keep interrupting us. Sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry.
Now I'm out of breath. What was the question?
What movies are coming out? I really don't know. I don't know what's coming out. I'm not one of those people who focuses a lot on like trailers and releases. Like I pay attention as stuff is coming out.
Okay.
Mostly I gotta get caught up. I still have about another 40 to 50 movies from 2016 I gotta see. So I'm trying to get caught up on 2016 so I can finish that list.
Do you see everything, Craig? Do you just...
No. He
No.
wouldn't see Bridget Jones's Diary.
The new one?
Yeah, he wouldn't see that with
Her
me.
baby?
That's where I draw the line.
Bridget Jones's Baby, that wouldn't make the top 100?
No.
I heard it was better than the second one.
It
if that helps any.
Carla liked it a lot.
I did.
Maybe they'll make your list.
I think it might.
It's the kind of thing, if you had it on at home, I'd sit and watch it.
No, you wouldn't.
Maybe not.
Well, maybe that's the next time. Carla's top 100. That could be interesting.
I don't go to see every blockbuster either. Like, I haven't seen any of the DC superhero movies.
Yeah. You said not at all. Not even on video or anything.
No.
You saw Doctor Strange, right?
That's Marvel.
It's Marvel.
What's it? Okay. But in terms of like tone or genre, what's the difference? Why
the
would
DC
you?
movies are darker.
They're dark, and there seem to be, the quality level seems to be different too, just in terms of writing. And
So Marvel's good, but DC's bad.
Yes.
currently.
Okay.
I would say so.
That's
Okay.
where they
I had
are,
to
yeah.
Marvel's being a lot more successful critically and otherwise.
I see. Because to me, like, it's a superhero movie, right? But I see what you're saying. Okay.
And this is the time of year where it's kind of a release wasteland. You know, like the studios kind of dump their shitty movies in the first 3 months of the year.
Triple X.
Yeah, it's usually a good time to get caught up with stuff on video and on streaming because there's not a lot to go see in the theaters.
They save the good movies for the end of the year, so it's kind of fresher in people's minds for
Yes.
the award season, right?
Yeah, and then summer blockbusters for some reason start coming out in April now, so there'll probably be a big, superhero movie in April. I'm not sure what's coming out when.
Yeah, well, let's see. We got Guardians of the Galaxy coming up. We got Wonder Woman.
I'll see that. I like the
coming
first
up.
one a lot.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's coming
Wonder
up.
Woman, cool.
Wonder Woman, yep.
Did you go see Wonder Woman?
Sure. I'll
That's a
go see
DC
that.
movie.
It's a chick
Yep.
Flick.
Okay. Chick
Yeah.
flick. Chris Pine's in it. He's cute.
He's great. He's a really good actor.
Yeah. What else? Oh, there's going to be a Captain Marvel with Brie Larson.
Oh.
That's probably a year or two away, though. But some good stuff. I love the superhero movie. They're all on my top 100, 300.
Every superhero movie.
Definitely the Marvel one.
Mr. Fantastic.
In your show, you do a segment called Carla's Quotes.
Yep.
That's right.
How did that come about? It's my favorite part of the show.
I think it's everybody's favorite, and we now have a theme song to it written by our friend John Dinerstein.
It's very good.
I think it really just came about because the first movie we were doing was La Dolce Vita, and she was saying so many hilarious, crazy things that I just started writing them down, and it just became. And I just wanted to paint for the audience what it's like to watch a movie with Carla.
Anything really.
So
a TV
anything,
show or
yeah.
whatever.
So, Carla, you have your own commentary.
Yeah.
You do your own riff tracks
Yes. Exactly.
during things.
Now I know what it's called. Yep.
Do you talk like in movie theaters too?
I don't.
Okay, that's good.
No.
No.
I think it's just at
We're
home.
very respectful in the theater.
Like,
That's nice.
yeah, because I get real annoyed with people even if they're eating too loudly in the movie theater.
Me
Yeah.
too. Me too. I can't stand it.
It's too expensive.
I can't stand it. Are you now that that's a segment? Are you like aware?
Yeah,
Of Carla's quotes
to be
now?
honest, I am. But it goes half and half. Like sometimes it's just a reaction, and then other times it's like I'm talking out loud and he's going to write it down.
It's like being on a reality show. Like sometimes you're playing for the cameras, but sometimes you just live in your life and forget the people are recording you.
Yeah, and then I'm becoming more aware of it
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the tricky thing is I don't actually know when I actually say a lot more than he records, it feels like. And so
Can't write everything down.
Yeah.
everything
And so
down.
I don't know what he's choosing to write down, which is good. Also because he's always on his iPad taking notes. So I don't know if he's taking notes or if he's writing down what I'm saying or what.
Yeah.
So
I take notes on the film as well as writing down Carla's quotes. So I do that while we watch the movie. Yeah.
for the first time this time with Pinocchio, he did rewind something because he was like, "You're gonna have something to say about this."
Yeah,
that I missed.
staged a Carla's quote,
And it felt really gross, and I don't think we should
We
do
didn't
that ever
include it.
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I was like,
What
oh,
was it?
it was something.
There's something
about-
involving Jiminy Cricket's butt.
Yeah, and Craig rewound it so I could react to it.
Yeah.
But then that puts like that's it's like
Pressure.
improv,
Inorganic.
right? Like it's trying to say the funny thing, it's never going to be funny.
Yeah.
So it wasn't me just reacting to it. Then I felt pressure to say something about it.
Yeah. But my favorite part about doing it is we usually will do the podcast at least a day, sometimes more after watching the movie. And the surprise of your reactions to your own quotes.
I do forget everything that I say. That's the truth. Like I don't remember. You'll often say things and I'll be like, I don't even remember seeing that part of the movie.
It's especially good if I can catch Carla when she's a little tired, a little loopy, or maybe she's had a drink before watching the movie.
Yeah.
And then, so she's very unselfconscious.
Is that more enjoyable if you're like, I'll have a couple glasses of this, or do you guys ever puff up or anything like that? And
You
watch
know,
it?
we don't. I could probably get high more.
That'd be some interesting
But I don't think we've
quotes.
done that at all.
I don't believe in getting high from movies because then I think it taints your perception of it.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
All right, so
Standards.
then I guess I won't.
Hashtag standards.
You can do whatever you want.
Maybe I will one time just to see what that's like.
Are you going to be able to sit through the two-parter?
I don't
coming
think
up?
so. I'm
Yeah,
going to try, though.
You have 3 passes.
Yeah, I haven't taken any
You
yet.
haven't used any. And you have to watch like at least a third or 2/3?
She has to watch at least a third, yeah.
Third of the movie.
And I've only done that once, right?
Yeah, Tucker.
Tucker, I just watched a
Which,
third.
by the way, I like that. I remember liking that movie a lot. And I was like, oh, Tucker. I remember Jeff Bridges is fantastic in
Yeah.
it. And isn't there is Corin Nemec in it? Quirky.
Yeah.
So I'm interviewing him tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So you'll get to talk about Tucker.
I will talk about Tucker.
Yeah.
And I'll say made your list.
And then I didn't finish
I think
it.
he's one of Tucker's kids in it, I believe.
Yeah,
along
yeah.
with Christian Slater, yeah.
How fun.
That was a good movie, I remember. But I think I've only seen it once. I think it's one of those movies.
Never again.
Never again.
I thought that I liked Unforgiven, and then I rewatched it, and I didn't like it.
That's a good movie.
All the guys say so. Lots of people tweeted at me that I was wrong about Unforgiven. All dudes.
You're not wrong. You can have your own opinion.
No, you're totally right. You weren't saying that. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But you're totally wrong. Well, I guess I'll wrap it up because you guys have to get going pretty soon. Let's see. Any final thoughts on movies?
Gosh, what's a final thought on the movies? Don't make yourself watch something that you know you're not going to like. Life's too
Is that
short.
a note to yourself?
Life's
or?
too short, which is why I might not.
That's a good note. Well, let me ask you real quick, Craig. You are in Drunk History,
That's correct.
and you've done like every episode of Drunk History. Pretty much.
There's a story or two that I didn't work that day, and there's a couple where my parts got cut out. But for the most part, you can see me in every episode. Yeah,
That's awesome. What's that like working on that show? It must be great.
it's really fun. It's just pretty much as much fun as you would expect because every day I'm in a different costume, different facial hair, different beards and wigs. And it really is like why you got into acting in the first place, which is like just to play dress up and make believe.
Do you get a script? Is there a script?
Yeah. Well, the first thing they do is they interview the drunks. They do that 3 or 4 months before we shoot the reenactments because they have to edit like 6 hours of drunken footage down to a 5 to 7 minute clip, which is what we use on the show. And then they've got to figure out how to turn their drunken ramblings into something that could be visualized.
Right.
And they got to figure out what dialogue to assign what characters, because sometimes the drunk would be like, and then Teddy Roosevelt said blah blah blah, so that's easy to know, like, okay, we give that line to Teddy Roosevelt. But then there's other things where they're just like random things like I got to puke in a bucket, you know, and then like Derek will assign that line to soldier number 2 or whatever, you know. So there is some writing that goes on, which is really just matching up their dialogue with characters and figure out what characters to put in it. And they want the story to be, you know, 97% historically accurate. And when there's inaccuracies, they want them to be called out, you know, so it's obvious to the audience that this is a joke rather than, you know, that this is true. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. I have the easiest job, which is show up, memorize a line or two, and lip sync it.
Yeah,
you know,
because they play the audio, right? Do they play the audio?
Yeah, it's just like working on a music video or whatever. You know, we don't record audio. Well, they record audio for just like for bonus feature kind of stuff, but they roll the audio and then you talk along with it. I like to talk out loud. Other people just kind of silently lip sync, but I like to say the line as it's happening, so it looks authentic coming out of my mouth.
And when you're directed, what do the directors do? Do they say, okay, you're going to walk here and say it here?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of elaborate camera setups. Our DP won Best Cinematography for a half-hour show from the American Cinematographers Association. So, like, he's really good and he knows what he's doing. Jeremy Connor and Derek Waters direct all the episodes themselves. So, you know, they created the show. They're experts on it. We don't have guest directors come in. And those of us in the ensemble, I think they have very much a shorthand of like, we don't get a lot of direction because we've kind of done every story. So they're working mostly with the guest star who's just there for one day. But yeah, you get notes on character and stuff of like, you know, can this guy be more enthusiastic or can this guy be angry or whatever. But usually our first impulse from the rehearsal take is good enough.
Is there any guest stars that stick out to you that you enjoyed working with?
Oh, so many. I mean, first of all, the people that come back every year, like Tony Hale, Taron Killam, Alia Shawkat, Jason Ritter. I think we've had those people every season, and they're always great. And then just some crazy ones like John Lithgow, Octavia Spencer, Dennis Quaid, like really like legends of acting. Octavia Spencer played Harriet Tubman, and she had this like big long speech that was like a page long and just like impossible because it's a drunken person of like, you know, I'm not going to say there's going to be some bullshit, but this is about to be some bullshit. You all got it. And it's just like one of these like things of like, there's no way to memorize it. And I stood next to Octavia Spencer and watched her do that speech 10 times in a row, letter perfect every time.
There's no cue cards or anything?
No cue cards. You know, she memorized, and she had all the dialogue that day. So, like, she came.
She's talking along with the
perfect,
stuff.
perfectly in sync. She came totally prepared. She was a real professional and real great. And still did not vote for her for the SAG Awards this morning. But Octavia, I love you, babe.
Nominated for Drunk History, maybe.
Yeah. Why was she not nominated for Drunk History?
Who did you vote for instead? Viola Davis.
Viola Davis.
Right.
Yeah. Who was more of a lead?
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I did Emma Stone. Real quick, and you did VEEP. You did a bunch of episodes of VEEP.
Yeah, I did 1 in season 2. I did 4 episodes in season 5. The difference there was one of the first one shot in Baltimore. They shot their first 4 seasons in Baltimore, and they moved to LA for last season and this season. So fun.
Are you in the new season?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. They killed me off.
I remember. Did you die?
No, I don't. Not that I know of. But
maybe they'll bring it back in 3 more seasons.
Maybe. Yeah, I love that show. And basically, the 4 episodes I did last season, I didn't get a lot of screen time, but it basically amounted to me just hanging out with Tim Simons and Sam Richardson on set all day. And there are worse ways to spend your day. Like, those guys are so funny and so nice.
Well, hey, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Everybody should go listen to Craigslist. You guys have a Twitter account as well.
Craigslist PCast. We are not affiliated with the website Craigslist where you can list your shit for sale. We've had several people that have posted on the Facebook page of like trying to sell a printer. Of like, what? Like, it should be clear through so many context clues that this is not that. But
well, to be fair,
I understand.
The title isn't the best. We didn't do the best job with that.
Yeah.
Who did your logo?
Ari, a student of mine at Second City. Yeah.
It's cute.
It's a real cute logo.
Thank
He's a
you,
great
Ari.
caricaturist. Yeah.
And what about you want to plug your Twitter?
Yeah,
Carla?
at Carla Cackowski. You can watch me rant
About Trump.
about Trump. I'm trying to shake it off, you guys.
As soon as you finish deleting all your family from social media, I think you will be even more vocal.
I think
about
you're right.
What you believe in.
But no, I try to repost a lot of jokes to even it all out. And also Improv Yak, which is my other podcast. If you like improv and like hearing about shop talk improv stuff.
I do like that a lot. And you guys are both teaching,
Yep.
Sure are. iOS for me.
And Second City for me.
so go take their classes.
Please.
Ask them for them specifically. You'll be glad you did.
You totally can.
And everybody knows I don't date my students anymore. So
However.
And you guys perform as well. So
Yeah.
you can see us every other week at the Second City Hollywood in Orange Tuxedo, 10 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Yep.
And you can see me on Thursday nights at I.O. in either Quartet or Dasariski.
Yep.
good shows. I promise. Good shows. Go see them. Well, thank you so much for being here, guys.
CJ.
Thanks, CJ.
So
We'll
good to
next
see
time.
you.
Good to see you. And there you go, folks. That was Carla and Craig Cackowski. Thanks so much, guys, for coming on. So much fun talking with you guys. I could talk about movies all day. I love movies. I have more than 1,000 movies, probably. So there you go. So go check out their podcast. You'll be glad you did. And they've inspired me. I forgot to tell them they've inspired me to buy some movies that I've never seen before. I bought a couple. There's Squid and the Whale, Splendor in the Grass. I still have yet to see them, but I'm motivated. So thanks a lot, guys. And one more time for my plugs. Twitter at EJ Scott, at EJ Podcast is for the podcast, ejscott.com. The charity stuff is crowdrise.com/7on7. That's the number 7 on the number 7. And Running Blind documentary on iTunes, Google Play, or Amazon for about $2 or $3. Rent it or buy it and enjoy it. And that's it. So go subscribe to my podcast on iTunes. I'm on Instagram if you feel like looking at dog pictures, EJ Scott 1106. And check out my past podcasts. And I have a lot of great ones coming up. So there you go. Enjoy. Thanks for listening.